Hello everyone, Dark Carlin here once again with another vlog. I meant for this to come out a fair bit earlier than this, however, things happen. Things always happen, so, first we're going to be discussing Fallout 4. The video title should tell you everything I'm going to be discussing, but I feel like saying it again here. Anyway, so my thoughts on Fallout 4. It's really a very good game. If you liked Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, you're going to like this game, most likely. They didn't change too much. They changed a couple things which I'll get into, but for the most part, I mean, this is a Fallout game. It's that's all there is to say. That's kind of like its own. It's like almost like its own genre now, or I guess not necessarily just Fallout games, but Bethesda games in general with the Elder Scrolls these days. And Fallout they're both kind of the same-ish type of game in different settings and with slightly different mechanics in it. As a matter of fact, before I discussed the game directly, I was actually in a podcast with a couple of people who I'm friends with on the Steam, and some of the people that they know who, have really liked the games, at least since Fallout 3, and wanted to discuss the game kind of soon after release. So just a day or two after the game released, I actually recorded the podcast with these people, and we all kind of gave our first impressions and thoughts about the game, and kind of told the quirky things, some of the quirky things that we had found already within the game. Because while the map, I don't think the map is as big as some of the other games. I'm not sure. Maybe someone will correct me on that. However, it's a lot more packed with things. There's more things to find in this game than in Fallout 3 and New Vegas, so that's something at least. But anyway, I'll put the links to the podcasts and links to the other people's channels or websites in the video description below. So go check it out, see what you want, and see what our thoughts were of the game right after just starting playing it, basically. So, some things that basically everything they added, I think, is for the better. Some people argue back and forth about that. The first thing was they've changed up the VAT system. Instead of it pausing the game, it kind of just slows things down a bit. So it makes it a little bit more dangerous to use it. If you have a guy charging at you, it doesn't stop them, and the tracks will continue to come at you as you aim at them. So you have to be kind of quick on the draw with it. But they've also added a critical mechanic to it as well. As you use the VAT system, you build up a critical bar, and then you designate a hit in VATs to be a critical hit whenever that bar fills up, and then you do a critical shot on whoever you're hitting. It's a nice way to pump out a little bit more damage on some guys that you know are going to be harder to take down. And beyond that, the gunplay feels a lot better, where you don't necessarily need to use VATs if you are a good player of first-person shooters. If you have good aim by yourself, the gunplay in this one feels a lot better. In 3 and Fallout New Vegas, it felt, I don't know, I'm not sure how to describe it. It just felt like the people who programmed it didn't really know what a shooter was supposed to feel like. I'm not sure how to describe it exactly. I guess the guns didn't recoil properly, or you couldn't aim them properly, or they all kind of felt kind of sameish, I guess. But on this one, they actually brought in some guys from id and I believe Bungie as well. So the guys who made the Quake games and the guys who made Halo, and got a little bit of consulting on how to properly do gunplay and how to properly design guns, which is good because now they've added in the mod system to the game that will allow you to alter weapons in various ways to kind of customize them and kind of make them better or worse in different ways, depending on how you like to play with them. So, for instance, the one that shocked me the most when I actually saw it was you can convert your missile launcher into a quad missile launcher. So it shoots 4 missiles, and it has 4 missiles in a clip instead of just the one. And, there's benefits and drawbacks to that, but it's very interesting, to say the least. But, so They also have armor customization, which is really good. They have legendaries in the game now, legendary monsters, with a star next to their name. And if you kill them, they drop, from what I can tell, some kind of randomly generated unique weapon that has special abilities to it. And you can mod those too, if you want to, but they come built in with some special abilities. Like I found a laser rifle, which has unlimited clip capacity, which means that every bullet you have for that gun is in the clip, so there's never any reloads, which is really cool. And I found like a rifle, which is just called the incendiary rifle, and it just lights people on fire when you shoot them with it, and it does a bunch of extra fire damage on top of the bullet damage. So it's just stuff like that. They also changed up how the special attributes and perks in the game work. There's still a perk system that you get that you kind of unlock as you level, but not really. What it really is they made a line of they for all your special stats, the acronym special, for strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck. So for each of those, you can spend a perk point every level to increase your level in those special attributes, to just make your overall combat and game abilities better overall. And then there's also a perk tree below each of those abilities, and each level of the perk tree requires you to have another level up on that particular attribute. So like tier 6 of the strength perks requires you to have 6 strength. That's just an example. So and also every perk, well, most of the perks have levels to them. So the more points you put into that perk, the stronger it gets. So for instance, the various weapon damage enhancing perks. The first level will be 20% extra damage. The next one will be 40, and you also, I think you, what is it? It's 40%, and I think you spend less action points to aim with that kind of gun, or something like that, or criticals do more damage with that gun, or something like that. I can't remember. But anyway, there's that kind of stuff, and then there's also the books that you find unlock perks as well. The magazines, which are all really funny, that I've found thus far. They have really clever titles and really funny magazine covers on them. But they all give you special bonuses like increased damage against robots, increased critical damage with melee weapons for the Grognok the Barbarian comic series. Just a bunch of different little perks like that. So, some people have complained that, I've heard the complaint anyway, in the podcast that we did, we kind of mentioned that. Some people complain that it makes some of the things too easy to do, but that's not. I don't think it's really the case, because beyond the needing a certain level in your attribute to unlock the perk, a lot of the perks require certain level requirements as well, so that you can't just be, I'm level 1, or I guess not level 1 doesn't count. I'm level 5, I gave my guy 10 intelligence, so I'm going to max out Nerd Rage by level 5. That's not going to happen. The Nerd Rage, which is very good, the Nerd Rage perk requires certain levels to get to certain tiers of it, so you at least have to play the game for a while before you can max out something. Which honestly though, if you start your character off with 10 points of intelligence and then try to max out Nerd Rage right off the bat, that's not really a really good idea. You probably shouldn't do that. This game also has a lot of throwbacks to the older games. I'm not going to mention any of them because they might be considered spoilerish. I can't say spoiler-ish, but they're pretty good stuff. I'll show one in the video at least that I thought was pretty nice. They also mention things that happen in the other games. Some of the NPCs that you meet immigrate from other areas, and they all kind of mention having events that have happened in the other games. Also, this game, like Skyrim and the other Bethesda games, of course, have a lot of moments that are just like really cool moments in them that you can find, whether they are awe-inspiring and just kind of a spectacle to behold, or whether it's kind of just stumbling across a story. It's not like the main plot. It's not told through dialogue or character interactions or anything like that. But you just find things around that kind of tell a story. That kind of stuff's really interesting because you don't know what you're going to find, and since it's Fallout, since it's a nuclear apocalypse, the story is likely not going to be happy. The vast majority of the time, it's not happy at all. It's fairly depressing. However, they're nice when you find them. The one thing I would kind of criticize, I guess, for this game is actually one of the cooler things they added: the new system of being able to build settlements, being able to attract people to come in, to being able to build up defenses, build buildings, build special power generators, build a thing to show off your bobblehead collection if you want, which I built, it's really nice. Yeah, the bobbleheads are in the game again, of course. It's Fallout, there has to be bobbleheads. But it's like nice to tinker around with, I suppose. However, they don't tell you how it works ever. There's no point in ever. They give you kind of like the basics, like this is how you open the menu to start building things, and this is how you put things down. But they don't ever tell you how it works, what you can do with it, what you can't do with it, what the use of certain things are, how you do certain things, just all that kind of stuff. Like, for instance, one thing which I didn't know, which didn't make sense to me, was you can build TVs, and the TV says requires power to work. Okay, that's fine, but you can't hook the power line up to the TV to power it. Like, everything that needs power, you hook a little power line from the generator down to the object, and it powers the object. TVs don't work that way. Radios don't work that way. Anything that's considered, like, I guess, a household item doesn't work that way. And there is nothing anywhere in the game that tells you what the hell the deal is. Why doesn't it work? How do I make this work? So you have to go online and look up, how do I power my TVs? And it turns out there's a capacitor thing. And if you attach a capacitor to a generator and then put the little capacitor on the wall of the house, the objects are in the house around the capacitor will start getting power now. I don't know how I'm supposed to know that, because that's not even what a capacitor does. In real life, there's no like little thing you put on the house and then things around to get power. Like, that's not a thing. Unfortunately, Tesla didn't get that out the door. But it's just very frustrating because the settlement building is like actually really fun. I mean, I want to get into it, but every time I want to know how to do something, I have to go and look it up online and find some hope to God that one of the wikis out there has a good explanation, because otherwise you have no clue. And the game has no tutorials, has no books to read, has no in-game help menus to tell you what to do, has nothing. So it's very, very frustrating trying to learn how to do this. And for instance, I have one of my settlements is at like 85 happiness, and it will not go up to above 11 settlers. I've done everything it says in tutorials to do to get more people at a city, and nobody will show up. Nobody comes. It's been at 11 for, I don't know, it has to have been like 20 game hours by now, and it's just stuck at 11, and no new people will show up, and I don't know why. But it's just very frustrating. So I think it was a really good idea, but it just doesn't work very well. It doesn't teach you how to do it, and it's not like this is something that's just always been in these games. This is brand new. This is a new system that no one's ever seen before, and they have no explanation of how any of it works. Also, something else I found frustrating was there's this thing where you can defend. You can like you'll get a message saying, "Oh, this settlement is under attack. You should come help." And I've actually fast traveled from one place to the next, and upon reaching my destination, just get a message saying you failed to protect this element. I didn't know there was a problem. Nothing ever told me there was a problem. Why within the span of time of my fast traveling was it even an option for that element to get attacked? That's not fun, and that's not fair. I don't know. I just don't know. But anyway, that's enough about the game. On to the next topic, the HP Lovecraft videos I discussed making in a previous vlog. I'm going to be contacting the HP Lovecraft Historical Society because they've actually made a silent film for Call of Cthulhu, and I want to see if they'll let me use the footage from that from that movie rather, to have something to kind of visualize that story instead of just being me speaking about it. Because while I am a handsome guy and all that, I know it would be helpful to not just have me speaking about it, but actually have some visualizations about the story itself. And that's a good way to start. That's a good way to do it. So, whether they give me the permission or not, I'm going to start talking about the stories. The only thing I have that I wonder about is how to start, because it's the same dilemma I ran into last time I was considering doing these videos, where I'm torn between either making the first video be just about H.P. Lovecraft to kind of discuss what kind of person he was, what kind of mindset he had, I guess, and kind of why he wrote the stories that he wrote, because he had not a good reason, but he had reasons why he wrote about the things that he did, and they tap into his own psyche. So I find that kind of stuff interesting, but I don't know if other people do, and I'm not sure whether it's better to make an initial video that discusses these things, or whether it is better to instead discuss, break up that discussion over all of the stories, where, every time a story plays upon some kind of certain personality quirk that he had, to bring up that within the review of the story. I'm not sure which is the better way to do it, so any feedback on that would be appreciated. That's it. I'm starting working on those videos. I'm going to get them out. I promise you so much. And finally, I was approached by an organization that I think the pronunciation of it is Gamxin. I've not actually heard someone say it. It's Gamxin. But anyway, from what I can understand, from what I understood from browsing through their website and from their promotional stuff, is they started out as being a place where independent developers could come together, independent game developers could come together and have a place to list their games that they're working on, to list all of their links to their websites, all the links to their videos that they have about the game, to the Kickstarters, to Steam Greenlight, all that stuff, and I guess just have a way for them to come together and talk to one another and be able to, I guess just have a way to build a community of independent game developers. Because quite honestly, there is Steam Greenlight, like I said, and there is Kickstarter. However, just finding things in either of those two things is really difficult, because they're kind of flooded with all kinds of junk, and it's hard to find anything that's might be good. So I guess the guys who made this website also had that same idea, because they've also been approaching content creators, and they approached me about a month ago to discuss whether I'd be interested in being a part of this, and I told them I would, because I've made my problem on this end is I want to make the videos about independent games. I want to show off independent games, because that's all they have in the word more either promotion. Like, they don't get to be on the mainstream game review sites like the big games do. They don't get to have some major marketing campaign discussing them. The only thing they have is word of mouth. The only thing they have is people discussing the game and telling their friends about it, sharing it on social media, making videos about it. So the idea is to start bringing content creators into this independent game developer community, and let the content creators say what kind of games they're interested in, what kind of, so they're not bugged with looking at games that aren't the kind of game they like to play, and just let the game creators know people who are friendly to making videos about independent games and discussing independent games, so that they can get the word out there to everyone. So my problem has been that YouTube's private message system is incredibly unreliable. There was a period of time where I wasn't getting emails to tell me I had private messages waiting for me, and there's nothing on YouTube anywhere that tells you, hey, you have new private messages sitting around. And it's largely because of Google Plus, which is just another reason for me to hate it. But that's an aside. So I've actually got a couple of messages from independent game developers wanting me to look at their game and advertise their Kickstarter, and I did not know I had the messages from these guys. I got them like 2 months after they actually sent me the messages, and by that point the Kickstarter was over, and that was it. And I felt like such a jerk because it just looks like I just ignored these guys, and that's not what happened. But yeah, so with this new service, hopefully I will have a better way of communicating with independent game developers, and I can get more videos showing independent games out there, because that's something I really want to do, because I want to feel like I want to be able to help people get their stuff out there, and plus, I mean, hey, a lot of these independent games are really good games, so they are worth advertising for. And that's it. That's all I've got. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a good Christmas, or if you don't celebrate that, whatever holiday you do celebrate. And if you don't celebrate any holidays this time of year, then that's very sad, and I'm sorry. Bye-bye.